It's not just TikTok. That would be very different. Would actually be illegal. The first thing we should talk about is what would happen to the way we consume media. The most obvious answer to this question is that the internet has made it possible for people to access information almost instantly from anywhere in the world. Without it, news and information would spread much slower, and people would have to rely more on traditional sources such as newspapers and television. But even before the internet, there were alternatives to print media. People could listen to the radio or watch TV, which allowed them to consume news in an instant. So what if the internet had never been invented? Would radio and TV be more popular? Well, it's likely that radio would have remained popular because it is a great way to consume news while doing other things. The TV would probably not be as popular without the internet. The reason for this is that TV relies heavily on visual imagery, whereas radio relies more on sound. And since the internet relies heavily on visual imagery, it's possible that its absence would lead to less visual stimulation overall in our lives. This could explain why some people are so addicted to it, because they're just starved for visuals. But it's not just how we consume media that would be different. The way we interact with each other would also be different. The internet has made it possible for people to connect with each other in ways that were never before possible. We can communicate with people from all over the world instantly via social media or email, and we can also use it to organize ourselves and form communities around shared interests. Without the internet, people would likely be more isolated and less connected to each other. They would still be able to communicate through other means, but those means would be much slower and less convenient. This could lead to people being less informed about what is going on in the world, and less able to connect with others who share their interests. It could also lead to a decline in social skills because people would have less opportunities to interact with others. But it's not just how we consume media and interact with each other that would be different, The internet has also changed the way we do business. Companies can now reach customers all over the world through their websites and social media channels. They can also use it to collect data about their customers, which allows them to tailor their products and services to meet the needs of specific groups of people. Without the internet, companies would likely have to rely more on traditional methods of marketing and sales. This could make it more difficult for them to reach customers and make it harder to tailor their products and services to meet the needs of specific groups of people. This could lead to a decline in innovation because companies would have less incentive to develop new and creative ways of reaching customers. It could also lead to higher prices because companies would have to spend more money on traditional methods of marketing and sales. The internet has also changed the way we learn. Students can now access information from all over the world instantly, and they can also use it to connect with other students and experts in various fields. Without the internet, students would likely have to rely more on traditional sources of information, such as books and teachers. This could make it harder for them to find the information they need and harder to connect with others who share their interests. It could also lead to a decline in education quality because students would have less access to information and resources. And then there's the dark side of the internet. There are many dangers lurking online, such as cybercrime and identity theft. The internet has made it easier than ever for criminals to steal personal information and commit fraud. Without the internet, these crimes would likely be less common, but they would still happen. People would still be able to give away their information willingly through things like credit card skimming, and criminals would still be able to steal mail and commit other types of fraud. But the biggest danger of the internet is the potential for it to be used to control people. The internet has made it possible for governments and corporations to collect vast amounts of data about their citizens and customers. This data can then be used to manipulate people into doing what the government or corporation wants them to do. For example, government might use social media to spread propaganda, or a corporation might use search engine algorithms to ensure that people only see information that will reinforce their existing beliefs. In extreme cases, The internet could be used to create a surveillance state where citizens are constantly monitored and controlled. In conclusion, the internet has had a profound impact on our lives. It has changed the way we consume media, interact with each other, do business, and learn. It has also created new dangers that we have to be aware of. If the internet had never been invented, our lives would be very different. Some of the changes would be positive and some negative. Ultimately, it's up to us to decide how we want to use the internet. If we use it wisely, it can be a powerful tool for good. But if we let it go unchecked, it can be a dangerous tool for evil. I think the internet is a tool that's often misused by both governments and corporations. Governments use it to spy on their citizens and control the flow of information. Corporations use it to collect data about their customers and manipulate them into buying things they do and need. But the internet doesn't have to be this way. It's possible to use it in a more ethical and responsible way. For example, governments could use the internet to make information more accessible to their citizens. Okay? They could also use it to connect with their citizens in a more meaningful way. Corporations could use the internet to build relationships with their customers rather than just trying to sell them things. The internet is a powerful tool that can be used for good or evil. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it. If you grew up with the internet like I did, it's hard to imagine life without it. But it's important to remember that the internet isn't a given. It's something that was invented and developed through the hard work of many people. The internet has made our lives easier in many ways, but it's important to be aware of its potential dangers. We need to be aware of the dangers of cybercrime, identity theft, and government and corporate control. We also need to be aware of the dangers of the echo chamber effect and the spread of fake news. It's important to be aware of these dangers so that we can take steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones. So one way we can do this is by teaching our children how to be responsible digital citizens. Okay, we need to teach them how to use the internet safely and responsibly. We also need to teach them how to think critically and evaluate online information carefully. By teaching our children these skills, we can help them avoid the dangers of the internet and use it to their advantage. The internet is a powerful tool that can be used for good or evil. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it. Are we going to use it to control people and spread propaganda? Or are we going to use it to make information more accessible and connect with others in a meaningful way? The choice is ours. Okay. And I hope we use it wisely. Thank you for watching my video. Okay. Please subscribe for more content like this. Have a great day. But there's one more thing I want to say. I think the internet is a tool that's often misused by both governments and corporations. Governments use it to spy on their citizens and control the flow of information. Corporations use it to collect data about their customers and manipulate them into buying things. But the internet doesn't have to be this way. It's possible to use it in a more ethical and responsible way. For example, governments could use the internet to make information more accessible to their citizens. They could also use it to connect with their citizens in a more meaningful way. Corporations could use the internet to build relationships with their customers rather than just trying to sell them things. Now, here's the thing. There are some people who are working to make the internet a better place. There are people who are developing new technologies that will allow us to use the internet in a more private and secure way. There are also people who are working to make the internet more transparent and accountable. These people are the heroes of the internet. They read the ones who are working to ensure that the internet is used for good rather than evil. We should support these people in the work they're doing. We should also be aware of the dangers of the internet and take steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones. By doing this, we can ensure that the internet remains a force for good in the world. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.